Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel known for knowledge. So today our topic is class 8 civilizing the native and educating the nation lesson. So I guess you all are very excited for this, right? So let us start. So by the end of this lesson you will be able to learn about differentiate between the educational system before and after the coming of the British. Critically analyze the traditional Indian system of education and the system of education introduced by the British. Elucidate and examine the role of national education in shaping Indians in various fields. So first topic, that is how the British saw the Indian education. And in that we have few subtopics. Those are the tradition of Orientalism, grave errors of the East, and education for commerce. So as I told you already, our topic is civilizing the native and educating the nation. So what does it actually mean? So let us go into the topic and learn more about it. So the topics that we are going to learn in this lesson are how the British saw the Indian education, and what happens to the local schools, and the actual agenda for the national education. So these are the main topics that we are going to discuss in this lesson. So before moving to the lesson, let's know few meanings. That is, first one is linguist. Linguist means a person who can speak and study several languages is called a linguist. And madrasa. Madrasa means an Arabic word for a place of learning, any type of school or college. And orientalist. Those with a scholarly knowledge of the language and the culture of Asia are called the orientalists. And munshi. Munshi means a person who can read, write and teach Persian are called the munshi. Vernacular. Vernacular means it is a local language. So let's get into the topic. As you can see in the pictures, the education system in India before the British rule. So these are the pictures which represent the education system in India. Mostly the education system in India was made under the trees. How the British saw the Indian education. The British in India established their control over the entire country, but the task was not completed. They had a cultural mission. They had to civilize the native by giving them proper education and by changing the customs and values. So let us see what is the tradition of Orientalism. In 1783, a person named William Jones arrived in Calcutta. He had an appointment as a junior judge at the Supreme Court that the company had set up. In addition to being an expert in law, Jones was a linguist. As we all learned the meaning of the linguist, linguist means a person who can read and studies different languages. Orientalists. Orientalists needed Indian scholars to teach them vernacular languages, local customs, and laws to help them translate and interpret ancient texts. Jones discovered that his interests were shared by many British officials living in Calcutta at that time. Englishmen like Henry Thomas Colebrook and Nathaniel Halhed were also busy discovering the ancient Indian heritage, mastering Indian languages, and translating Sanskrit and Persian works into English. Together with them, Jones set up the Asiatic Society of Bengal and started a journal called as Asiatic Resources or Researches. As you can see, these are the educational institutions set up by the British in the late 18th century. So let us know some interesting facts. Do you know that in 1791, the Hindu college was set up in Benares? Now it is known as Sampurnanand Sanskrit University. It was established by Jonathan Dugan for the study of Hindu law and the philosophy. So as you can see, this is the Sanskrit college in Benares. Now let us see what are the grave errors of the East. The aim of the education was not to please anyone or just to win a place in their heart. One such critic was Thomas Babington Macaulay. According to him, India was an uncivilized country and needed to be civilized. Macaulay declared that who could deny that a single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of Indian and Arabia. He requested the British government to stop wasting money on Oriental learning. He asserted the need for teaching English to the Indians as this would enable them to read Western science philosophy, and the finest literature of the world. So our second topic is what happened to the local schools. In that we have few subtopics. Those are the report of William Adam and the new routines, new rules. Now let's learn about the English Education Act of 1835. The English Education Act was a legislative act of the Council of India in 1835, giving effect to a decision in 1835 by William Bentinck, 4th Duke of Portland, then the Governor General of the British India, to relocate funds the East India Company was required by the British Parliament to spend on education and literature in India. Now let us see what is education for commerce. In 1854, the Court of Directors of the East India Company in London sent an educational dispatch to the Governor General in India, that is Wood's Dispatch, 1854. Charles Wood was the president of the Board of Control of the company in 1854 when he was sent a dispatch to then the Governor General of India, Lord Dalhousie. This is called the Magna Carta of English education in India. Recommendations of the Wood's Dispatch: regularized education system for the primary to the university levels. Indians were to be educated in English and their native language. Education system was to be set up in every province. Every district should have at least one government school. Affiliated private schools could be granted aids. Education of women should be emphasized. Universities of Madras, Calcutta and Bombay were set up in 1857. University of Punjab in 1882 and University of Allahabad in 1887. This dispatch asked the government to take up the responsibility of education of the people. Now let us see what is the report of William Adam. In the 1830s, William Adam, a Scottish missionary, toured the districts of Bengal and Bihar. He had been asked by the company to report on the progress of education in vernacular schools. The report Adam produced is very interesting. So let us see why it is very interesting. What happened to the local schools? Adam found that there were over 1 lakh pathashalas in Bengal and Bihar. These were small institutions with no more than 20 students each, but the total number of children being taught in these pathashalas was considerable, over 20 lakh. These institutions were set up by the wealthy people or the local community. At the times, they were started by the teacher, that is Guru. The system of education was flexible. New routines and new rules made by the British. Up to the mid-19th century, the company was concerned primarily with the higher education, so it allowed the local pathashalas to function without much interference. After 1854, the company decided to improve the system of vernacular education. It felt that this could be done by introducing order within the system, imposing routines, establishing rules, ensuring regular inspections. How was this to be done? What measures did the company undertake? So let us see. Pathashalas which accepted the new rules were supported through the government grants. Those who were not willing to work within the new system received no government support. Over time, gurus who wanted to retain their independence found it difficult to compete with the government-aided and regulated pathashalas. So let us see one interesting fact. There is only one mandatory standardized test in Finland, taken when children are under 16 years of age. As you can see in the picture, it appointed a number of government pundits, each in charge of looking after 4 to 5 schools. The task of the pandit was to visit the pathashalas and try and improve the standard of teaching. Each guru was asked to submit periodic reports and take classes according to a regular timetable. Teaching was now to be based on textbooks, and learning was to be tested through a system of annual examinations. Students were asked to pay a regular fee, attend regular classes, sit on a fixed seats, and obey the new rules of the British discipline. As I told you already, pathashalas which accepted the new rules were supported through the government grants, and those who are not willing to work within the new system received no government support. So our third topic is the agenda for the national education. In this we have two subtopics. Those are English education has enslaved us. The second subtopic is Tagore's Abode of Peace. So here is one more fact, that is, the world's first university was established in Takshashila in 700 BC. Admission into this university was purely based on merit. The agenda for the national education. From the early 19th century, many thinkers from different parts of the India began to talk of the need for a wider spread of education. Impressed with the developments in Europe, some Indians felt that Western education would help India modernize. They argued the British to open more schools, colleges, and universities and spend more money on education. There were other Indians, however, who reacted against Western education. One of them is Mahatma Gandhi or the Rabindranath Tagore, who has as you can see in the pictures, Mahatma Gandhi with Rabindranath Tagore. Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore were two such individuals. So let us look at what they had to say. English education has enslaved Indians. Mahatma Gandhi argued that colonial education created a sense of inferiority in the minds of Indians. It made them see Western education or the civilization as superior and destroyed the pride they had in their own culture. Mahatma Gandhi wanted an education that could help Indians recover their sense of dignity and self-respect. Mahatma Gandhi said that literacy in itself is not education. Mahatma Gandhi strongly felt that Indian languages ought to be the medium of teaching. Education in English crippled Indians, distanced them from their own social surroundings and made them strangers in their own lands. Speaking a foreign tongue, despising local culture, the English educated did not know how to relate to the masses. Now let us see the Tagore's abode of peace, that is Shantiniketan. Rabindranath Tagore started the institution in 1901. As a child, Tagore hated going to school. He found it suffocating and oppressive. The school appeared like a prison, for he could never do what he would like to do. So while other children listened to the teacher, Tagore's mind would rather wander away. The experience of his school days in Calcutta shaped Tagore's ideas of education. On growing up, he wanted to set up a school where the child was very happy, where she or he could be very free and creative, where she or he was able to explore her own thoughts and desires. Tagore that childhood ought to be a time of self-learning, outside the rigid and the restricting discipline of the schooling system set up by the British. As you can see in the picture, that is the Shantiniketan, which was the educational institution set up by Rabindranath Tagore in 1901. In some senses, Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi thought about education in similar ways. There were, however, differences too. Gandhiji was highly critical of Western civilization and its worship of machines and technology. Tagore wanted to combine elements of the modern Western civilization with what he saw as the best within the Indian tradition. He emphasized the need to teach science and technology at Shantiniketan, along with art, music, and dance. Many individuals and thinkers were thus thinking about the way a national education system could be fashioned. Some wanted changes within the system set up by the British and felt that the system could be extended so as to include wider sections of people. Others argued that the alternate systems be created so that people were educated into a culture that was truly national. Who was to define what was truly national? The debate about what this national education ought to be continued till after the independence. So what are the things that you have learned in this lesson? The education system in India was flexible, but the British implied systematic education. Orientalists like William Jones, Henry Thomas Colebrook, Nathaniel Halhed, and also many company officials argued that the British should promote Indian rather than Western education. But many British officials like James Mill and Thomas Babington Macaulay began to criticize the Orientalist vision by saying that the aim of education should be to teach what is useful and practical. The British felt that they had to civilize the Indians and change their customs and values. Mahatma Gandhi was against of Western education, while Rabindranath Tagore wanted to combine the elements of modern Western civilization with Indian education. You can refer this timeline for more relevant information. 1901, Rabindranath Tagore establishes Shantiniketan. 1854, issue of Wood's Dispatch. 1835, the English Education Act enacts. 1791, the Hindu College set up in Banaras. In 1783, William Jones arrived in Calcutta. In 1781, a madrasa was set up in Calcutta. So the total summing up of this session: education in India and the British rule. You can refer the given flowchart for more information. You can pause the video and know the information.
Please give this video a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel Known for Knowledge.